Essentially, it's a large real estate deal. It's hurting Denmark very badly because they're losing almost $700 million a year carrying it. Strategically for the United States, it would be nice.
President Trump announced on Twitter that he is canceling his scheduled trip to Denmark after the Danish Prime Minister said his idea of buying Greenland was, quote, absurd.
It is with regret and surprise that I received the news that President Trump has canceled his state visit.
Greenland, a vast autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark, holds a unique geopolitical significance that extends beyond its icy landscapes and stunning natural beauty. As the world's largest island, Greenland is strategically positioned in the Arctic region, making it a focal point of international interest. This introduction will delve into the importance of Greenland for the United States and other nations, explore the historical and current relations between the U.S., Denmark, and Greenland.
From a European perspective, to have a president in the US who is committed to the transatlantic alliance.
And examine the key sources of interest and potential conflicts in the Arctic region. Greenland's significance stems from its vast natural resources, including mineral deposits, fisheries, and potentially lucrative oil and gas reserves. Additionally, the island's strategic location has garnered global attention due to the shifting dynamics in the Arctic region. The melting ice caps and the opening of new maritime routes have fueled increased interest in the economic and strategic possibilities that Greenland offers. The historical and current relations between the United States, Denmark, and Greenland are intertwined through a complex web of diplomatic, economic, and security ties. While Greenland is an autonomous territory, it remains under Danish sovereignty. The U.S. has historically maintained a military presence in Greenland, particularly during the Cold War, reflecting the strategic importance of the region for both defense and scientific research. In August 2019, President Trump expressed interest in purchasing Greenland, a self-governing part of the Kingdom of Denmark, due to the island's strategic location in the Arctic and its increasingly accessible natural resources.
Well, Greenland, I don't know, it got released somehow. It's just something we talked about. Denmark essentially owns it. We're very good allies with Denmark. We protect Denmark. So the concept came up, and I said, certainly I'd be strategically, it's interesting, and we'd be interested, but we'll talk to them a little bit. Essentially, it's a large real estate deal. A lot of things could be done.
After Greenlandic and Danish officials asserted that Greenland is open for business, not for sale, President Trump canceled a previously scheduled state visit to Denmark in early September.
Denmark, I look forward to going, but I thought that the Prime Minister's statement that it was absurd, it was an absurd idea, it was nasty. I thought it was an inappropriate statement. All she had to do is say, no, we wouldn't be interested.
And subsequently objected to Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen's description of his proposal as absurd.
Jeg selvfølgelig både er ærgerlig og overrasket over, at den amerikanske præsident har aflyst sit statsbesøg her i Danmark den 2. og 3. september. Der har i de forløbne dage været rejst diskussion om muligt salg af Grønland. Det har landsstyreformand Kim Kielsen afvist. Det er jeg selvsagt enig med ham i.
The incident sparked tensions with Denmark, a close U.S. ally in NATO and fellow member of the Arctic Council, and led some experts to raise concerns about the future trajectory of U.S.-Nordic and U.S.-European relations more broadly. After the Wall Street Journal broke the story that U.S. President Donald Trump had repeatedly expressed interest in purchasing Greenland from Denmark and instructed his White House counsel to look into the matter, the world responded with disbelief. Either the United States had decided at last to drop all pretense of not being an empire, or the emperor had finally lost his marbles. Søren Espersen of the Danish People's Party was clear. If the story were true, then here stands the final proof that he has gone mad. Yet while the idea that any power, however rich, can simply buy off the world's largest island outright might sound laughable in the 21st century, Billy Perigo rightly pointed out in Time magazine that even in Greenland's case alone, it is not without historical precedent. Perigo shone a spotlight on similar plans made between 1945 and 1947. The origins of such ambitions, however, can be traced back even farther. Setting aside the potential resource benefits for the United States if it were to acquire Greenland, Greenland, the geopolitical strategic significance would be considerable. It is not widely appreciated that the Arctic today is being actively contested both for its potential maritime resource riches and its potential commercial and military shipping routes. By virtue of its particular location, Greenland may be able to generate an extended continental shelf well beyond its current 200 nautical mile limit to reach as far as, if not beyond, the geographic North Pole, thereby countering Russian claims to that area. However, self-determination could also include a positive act by the Greenlanders in support of becoming a part of the United States. There are a number of ways they could get there. Full statehood under the U.S. Constitution could be available, as in the case of Hawaii, or as a territory, as in the case of American Samoa, Guam, and Puerto Rico, all of which have local legislatures and certain levels of autonomy. Ultimately, whether Greenland becomes a part of the United States, remains with Denmark, or becomes a new independent state is a matter only the Greenlanders can decide. Greenland recognizes itself as a self-governing, autonomous country within the Kingdom of Denmark. His Majesty King Frederick X is the ceremonial head of state, as the system of governance is parliamentary democracy. Since 1979, Greenland has had its own government and parliament. Even though it is geographically part of North America, Greenland is politically part of Europe and an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. This status was granted through the Greenlandic Constitution Act of 1978, which came into effect in 1979. According to this legislation, Greenland has its own government, known as the Naalakkersuisut, its own parliament, called the Inatsisartut, and a legal system that handles various internal affairs. The autonomy allows Greenland to legislate on matters such as education, health, and social services, providing a significant degree of self-governance. Greenland exercises extensive self-rule, overseeing key areas like education, health, and natural resources, while the responsibility for foreign affairs and defense remains under Denmark's purview. The Kingdom of Denmark, through its Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Defense, manages global relations and defense matters on Greenland's behalf, reflecting a clear division of powers. Greenland's international engagement is facilitated through its membership in various organizations, such as the Nordic Council, fostering collaboration on culture, education, and sustainable development. Although not a full member of the European Union, Greenland benefits from its association as an Overseas Countries and Territories, OCT, enabling participation in EU programs. These affiliations highlight Greenland's commitment to international cooperation, allowing it to participate meaningfully in discussions and initiatives beyond its immediate geographical boundaries. In exploring the historical interest and precedents surrounding the notion of the United States acquiring Greenland, the statement delves into a historical narrative dating back to 1867, coinciding with the purchase of Alaska from Russia. While discussions regarding the acquisition of Greenland took place during that period, no formal agreement materialized. Notably, the purchase of Alaska serves as a precedent, highlighting the U.S.'s capacity for territorial expansion. Recent proposals and discussions regarding the acquisition of Greenland by the United States have captured public attention, particularly stemming from a reported dialogue between President Donald Trump and his advisors in 2019. Although no concrete offer was extended, the incident ignited diplomatic discussions and garnered significant media scrutiny. Integral to the historical backdrop is the 1951 bilateral agreement between the United States and Denmark, known as the Defense of Greenland Agreement. This agreement grants the U.S. military access to strategic bases and facilities in Greenland, with the Thule Air Base being a pivotal asset established during the Cold War era. The Thule Air Base serves as a cornerstone of the U.S. national security initiatives, encompassing missile warning systems, space surveillance capabilities, and other critical defense operations. Central to any prospective purchase of Greenland by the United States is the securing consent from both Denmark and Greenland. Given Greenland's autonomous status, its government and populace wield significant influence in determining matters of sovereignty. Moreover, the involvement of other stakeholders may hinge upon the specific terms and conditions outlined in any potential agreement, reflecting the multifaceted nature of such negotiations. Crucially, any endeavor to purchase Greenland must adhere to established international legal frameworks and norms. Compliance with the UN Charter, the law of the sea, and the preservation of indigenous peoples' rights in Greenland are paramount considerations in ensuring the legitimacy and acceptance of any proposed acquisition. Upholding the rights of Greenland's indigenous population and respecting international legal principles underscore the necessity for conscientious deliberation and adherence to universally recognized standards in navigating the complexities of territorial transactions. Greenland, with a population of approximately 56,000 people, boasts a GDP estimated at $2.8 billion as of January 2022. Its economy thrives on fishing, tourism, and public services. However, recent global attention has been drawn to Greenland's strategic significance due to its rich deposits of raw materials, including oil, minerals, and rare earth metals. With the effects of climate change facilitating easier access to these resources, Greenland stands at the cusp of becoming a pivotal player in the geopolitical landscape. Delegations from across the globe converge in Nuuk, vying for partnerships and contracts to tap into Greenland's potential resource wealth. The allure stems from the expectation that Greenland holds vast reserves, coupled with the possibility of the Northern Sea Route becoming a reliable, partially ice-free passage due to climate change. This strategic value has long been recognized by military analysts and politicians, notably by the Trump administration's publicized interest in purchasing Greenland in August 2019. Greenland's natural endowments, including oil, gas, minerals, and rare earth metals, hold profound implications for various industries and technologies worldwide. Exploiting these resources could significantly bolster Greenland's economic growth. However, any acquisition by the U.S. would entail substantial financial considerations. Negotiating with Denmark and Greenland could result in an expenditure ranging from billions to trillions of dollars, marking a considerable financial commitment for the U.S. government. Moreover, investing in infrastructure, public services, and environmental protection poses additional challenges, necessitating substantial resources and logistical prowess. Nevertheless, the benefits of gaining access and control over Greenland's resources cannot be understated. The U.S. stands to enhance its economic prospects and energy security, thereby reducing reliance on foreign suppliers, notably China. The United States considers Greenland strategically important and has maintained a military presence in Greenland since World War II. During the Cold War, Greenland played a key role in U.S. and NATO defense strategy. Thule Air Base in northwest Greenland is the U.S. military's northernmost installation, providing round-the-clock missile warning and space surveillance. Thule also hosts a deep-water seaport and airfield. Warming temperatures in the Arctic and ice loss in Greenland pose environmental concerns, but also raise the possibility of increased access to Greenland's potential oil, gas, and mineral reserves. Since the 2009 Self-Government Act, Greenland has assumed the right to utilize these resources. In 2013, in an effort to diversify its fishing-dominated economy, Greenland repealed a law banning the mining of radioactive materials and rare earth minerals. Many U.S. policymakers and experts are wary about increased Russian military and commercial activity, as well as Chinese investments in the Arctic. Some believe that China views Greenland as key to increasing its influence in the Arctic. In 2018, the prospect that China's state-run banks and a Chinese construction company might fund and help build or upgrade several airports in Greenland alarmed U.S. defense officials. The United States reportedly expressed its security concerns to the Danish government, which ultimately announced it would help finance the airport projects instead. The strategic significance of Greenland's location in the Arctic region aligns closely with the perspective that the United States perceives it as a valuable asset for both its national security and global leadership. Greenland's advantageous positioning offers crucial benefits for monitoring and responding to security threats within the Arctic. The escalating competition and tensions with China and Russia, both in the Arctic and beyond, serves as compelling drivers for the United States to secure a strategic foothold in Greenland. The Arctic region's growing geopolitical importance, driven by the melting ice opening new maritime routes and enabling resource extraction, pinpoints the urgency. With China and Russia demonstrating keen interest in the Arctic, the U.S. seeks to assert its influence to safeguard strategic advantages. For instance, Chinese involvement in the Greenlandic Airport project, alongside financing infrastructure and mineral extraction, constitutes a notable challenge perceived by the U.S. The initiation of China's Arctic involvement dates back to the 1990s, highlighted by its icebreaker purchase. The progression of Chinese interests throughout the 2010s, marked by significant investments since 2012, signifies a deeper engagement. Notably, Chinese companies also express interest in engineering projects within Greenland's harbors and other construction initiatives. The United States may harbor intentions to expand its territorial presence and sovereignty in the Arctic by acquiring Greenland. Such ambitions are in line with broader geopolitical interests aimed at securing control over Arctic waters and resources. The potential purchase of Greenland may enhance the United States' territorial control in the Arctic, potentially augmenting its influence in the region. Furthermore, historical ambitions and visions of acquiring Greenland persist within the U.S., stemming from past discussions and interests in the region. Repeated expressions of interest in purchasing Greenland throughout history, including discussions in 2019, highlight the enduring nature of these ambitions, which can shape contemporary geopolitical decisions. Acquiring Greenland could serve as a means for the United States to enhance its reputation and prestige as a global power. Possessing a territory of strategic importance could bolster the U.S.'s standing on the global stage. Geopolitical maneuvers and strategic acquisitions often contribute to the perceived influence and stature of nations in global affairs. Denmark has consistently asserted its sovereignty over Greenland, and any attempt by the U.S. to acquire the territory without Danish and Greenlandic consent will not be possible, and it will be violation of international laws and norms. The international community, including European and Nordic nations, might express their deep concerns about such an acquisition. The people of Greenland may resist the U.S. purchase due to concerns about autonomy, identity, and culture. Greenland has pursued a path of increased self-governance, and there may be resistance to any move that could compromise this autonomy. Greenland held a referendum in 2008 that resulted in an increased level of autonomy. The sentiment for maintaining their unique cultural identity and having a say in decisions regarding their territory is strong among the Greenlandic population. The initiation of a purchase could provoke a hostile response from geopolitical rivals, such as China and Russia, who may perceive it as a threat to their interests in the Arctic and beyond. Any move by the U.S. to strengthen its presence in the Arctic may be met with diplomatic or military countermeasures. Russia, in particular, has a significant interest in military presence in the Arctic.
No one denies Russia has significant Arctic interests. Its actions deserve special attention of this Council, in part because of their sheer scale.
The potential purchase of Greenland by the United States could be framed within ethical principles such as mutual consent, fair compensation, and mutual benefit. This argument suggests that any negotiations for the purchase would prioritize consent from all parties involved, ensuring a fair and mutually advantageous agreement. Historical precedents, like the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, highlight negotiations and agreements between the U.S. and other nations, reflecting an approach rooted in mutual consent and fair compensation. Furthermore, the United States may assert that the purchase is in the best interest of the people of Greenland, emphasizing potential economic, social, and security opportunities that integration with the U.S. could provide. The argument could focus on the U.S.'s role as a promoter of stability and prosperity, aiming to extend these benefits to the people of Greenland. Economic indicators such as Greenland's GDP could be analyzed to gauge whether integration with the U.S. would indeed lead to enhanced economic opportunities and social development for Greenland. Additionally, the U.S. may contend that the purchase serves the best interests of the international community, arguing that its involvement in the Arctic region could foster stability, cooperation, and development. Presenting itself as a responsible global actor, the U.S. may seek to contribute positively to the well-being of the Arctic region. Economic and geopolitical analyses could be conducted to assess the potential impact of U.S. involvement on stability and cooperation in the Arctic, drawing upon historical examples of international cooperation in other regions. It is essential to acknowledge that ethical claims are inherently subjective, and perspectives on what constitutes fairness, benefit, or the best interests of different parties may vary. Moreover, while historical examples and principles offer context, the ethical evaluation of a specific situation demands an understanding of current geopolitical dynamics, the desires of the involved parties, and potential ramifications for global stability and cooperation. The potential purchase of Greenland by the United States raises profound ethical questions regarding the legitimacy and morality of transactions involving sovereign territories and populations. It prompts considerations of democracy, human rights, and self-determination. Critics may question the morality of such transactions, which could potentially challenge democratic principles, human rights, and the right of people to determine their own political status. However, the ethical dimensions of territorial transactions are inherently contextual and contingent upon the will of the affected population. The ethical dilemma revolves around whether the U.S. can ensure responsible policies that prioritize environmental conservation, social well-being, and the preservation of indigenous cultures. Environmental impact assessments, social impact studies, and evaluations of cultural heritage would be indispensable in understanding the potential consequences of such a purchase. Additionally, the distribution of costs and benefits associated with the purchase engenders ethical questions about justice and equity. Concerns may arise regarding the potential for an unequal distribution of benefits and burdens, disproportionately impacting different segments of the population. Socioeconomic indicators, demographic data, and historical precedents can be analyzed to assess how various groups, especially indigenous communities, have been affected by similar geopolitical decisions in the past. Approaching these ethical concerns requires recognition of diverse perspectives and values, acknowledging that ethical considerations are subjective and context-dependent. While the use of data, facts, and figures can inform discussions, they may not offer definitive answers to complex ethical questions. In a nutshell, the current Greenlandic political strategy is not based on integration into any existing national state. On the contrary, it is the full formal sovereignty as a national state with the following three priorities: legal self-government, economic self-sufficiency, and transition to a multifaceted economy. The answer to Trump's interest in buying Greenland from Naalakkersuisut on 16th of August 2019 was clear. We have a good cooperation with the USA, and we see it as an expression of greater interest in investing in our country and the possibilities we offer. Of course, Greenland is not for sale.
So I take your point entirely that Greenland is not for sale. It's a very honorable position. I can't imagine there isn't a person in Greenland who isn't doing the math about how much they might end up with if you were to distribute the price that the US might pay to the 56,000 people who live in Greenland. Have you ever done that calculation? Have you ever had that discussion with your citizens about how much money would be involved?
나치복아지에도 나쪽에 기소 두리니양이로 암날렸선 각신낭이라 아니가선 눈앞부 다섯선 각신낭이라 갖고 무소리.
In its yearly foreign policy strategy reports, the Naalakkersuisut is stating that it is important for Greenland that the global interests in the Arctic are converted into concrete agreements that it will make with different national states, including the US and China, as well as agreements with international and regional organizations on cooperation. This explains why the global interest in Greenland has already ensured foreign investment in the airport infrastructure and in the private sector. Such investments, as well as foreign workers, are needed to ensure a Greenlandic self-sustainable economy as the platform for a national sovereign Arctic state. The Greenlandic ambitions in relation to the U.S., it is explained in the Naalakkersuisut 2018 report on foreign affairs. In the long run, it is also hoped that cooperation with the United States can be established in the future, which is as broad and economically important for Greenland as it is today with the EU.